Argent, the feminine fragrance, Mugler.
In Alice Through the Looking Glass, one of the central themes of the film is time.
It's like a ship. Dead ahead.
It's not only the device that drives the plot of the story, it's the visual inspiration behind the oceans of time.
Hatter.
On a quest to help the Mad Hatter, Alice travels through the oceans of time in a machine called the Chronosphere, where she re-experiences the past by plunging into the depths of memories.
Don't worry, Hatter. I'll save you and your family.
Imageworks visualize the oceans of time as a vast, mind-bending environment. Two parallel ocean surfaces undulate with whitewater, foam, spray, mist, and the occasional bolt of lightning. Underneath the waves, embedded memory images alter the water surface as the motion of the memories influence the waves that house them. The 82 shots that make up the Oceans of Time sequence in Alice Through the Looking Glass, in many ways are pushing the boundaries of our effects and rendering capabilities. The data generated for these shots was some 900 terabytes. It also demonstrates the collaboration involved to bring this sequence to life. From concept art to resource management, every department and team had an involvement in this colossal effort.
Tried to run, tried to hide, bring up dude to the other side, bring up dude to the other side, bring up dude to the other side.
And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling.
Darkness rules, fights the champion of light. Where hope seems lost, there rides the rebellion. Together they stand ready against the dark, evil warriors of the Horde and their leader, the terrible Hordak. Armed with hope and ancient powers against the force of an intergalactic army. This is the story of one who will become leader of the Great Rebellion. She-Ra, Princess of Power.
Beautiful. That is burning by my bed for you. A memory, a dream, but it's no place to live. And now is the time. The only way out is up. And it's not heaven. It's a new world. The future is gold. Shadow.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
The mystery of science fiction is what I'm talking about. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
In ancient history at Starfleet Academy, about the time when men still believed the Earth was flat.
And that the sun revolved around it?
And that if a ship sailed too far out into the ocean, it would fall off the edge of the world.
Beyond this place, there be dragons.
Once again, Professor Picard, the Belgian scientist, has ascended to heights never before reached by man to study the stratosphere that unknown region which surrounds the Earth at a distance of more than 7 miles. Last year in May, he reached over 9 miles in height, but this time he was out to beat his own record. Accompanied by his assistant, Monsieur Max Cousins, the start was made at dawn from Dubendorf Aerodrome near Zurich. The preparations for the flight began at midnight, but thousands of people had made the journey from Zurich in special trains, whilst a battalion of Swiss troops held down the guy ropes. Professor Picard himself superintended the arrangements for the inflation of the balloon. And then, when all was ready, he clambered inside the gondola which contained a mass of scientific instruments and gave the signal to let go. The balloon rose quickly and eventually climbed to over 10.5 miles above the Earth. Just imagine, whilst we were sweltering in the heat wave, he was nearly frozen to death in 15 degrees centigrade below zero. After being aloft for over 12 hours, he eventually landed near Lake Garda in Italy. From the practical point of view, Professor Picard's experiment is of the highest possible importance. But one of the things it will definitely do...
You probably know this guy. It's Captain Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. And maybe you even know this guy. This is Professor Calculus. But I guess you don't know that those two characters are inspired by a real person, a real scientist, Professor Auguste Piccard. This is a picture of him taken in 1932. I think he looks a little like Dirk Vriemaut, the first Belgian guy that went into space in 1992 at the age of 51. But this video is not about Dirk Vriemaut. This video is about a legit and real scientist. Auguste Piccard was a famous Swiss physicist, inventor and explorer. He did a lot of manned and unmanned hot air balloon flights to study Earth's upper atmosphere and cosmic rays. This was long before NASA existed. No one ever did experiments like that. He made big pressurized metal spheres to protect himself at high altitude. Massive hot air balloons took him over 10 miles into the sky, where he did different experiments. He painted one side of the sphere black, so that when it got too hot inside, they could rotate the black side towards the sun to make it colder again. A lot of things went wrong on the first trip. First of all, the German authorities tried to ban the flight because it was too dangerous. At the last minute, they decided that helmets must be worn, so Professor Piccard improvised a little with materials he could find, which was fine for the Germans. During takeoff, the motor that was designed to rotate the black side towards the sun got damaged. This means that the explorers experienced temperatures up to 40 degrees Celsius. Because of a valve problem, they could not descend when they wanted, and the trip took many more hours. The press pronounced the explorers dead, but a few hours later they landed safely. They reached an altitude of 16 kilometers or 10 miles. He did 2 flights, and that made him the first man to witness the curvature of the Earth with his own eyes, according to this website of Bertrand Piccard, who is closely related to Auguste, because it's his grandfather. So, since I'm a flat earther, that makes this guy very interesting for me. I never knew about this guy. They never told me in school. After many different balloon flights, a few years later Professor Piccard started to build submarines to explore the depths of the oceans. Many others after him explored the atmosphere and also the ocean depths, including many members from his family, for example his son Jacques Piccard. This shows me that long before NASA even existed, people used to explore these extreme places. I find it strange that so many of these explorers and even NASA astronauts do missions at both high altitude and deep below the ocean's surface. There are a few video interviews online with Auguste Piccard, some with globes in the background, some without, but they are all in French, and because my French is not that good, I can't understand some parts. But this proves to me that they had video cameras back then, so I wonder why there are no high altitude pictures from back then. For me, it's hard to fully trust all of this information because some of the experiments, like the first balloon flight, was done in cooperation with the Belgian government. And most of you probably know that I don't trust governments. But still, it's an interesting person to research, and I hope some other people will look into him after this video.
Then, upon reaching computer lessons after 6 more years in a final conditioning school, each happy, healthy individual will go forth to take up his or her predestined place in the greater society, dedicated to ensuring the continuing perfection of community, identity, stability.
Everything's there you could want. And anything you want, you can have. Anything.
Because gray is the nicest.
How lucky to be a Delta and get to wear blue.
Stupid and not too bright.
So glad to be a Beta. Betas know? How lucky to be an Alpha. And if you're ever blue, wonderful pills that never make you feel bad afterwards like the mezcal here. And the people aren't evil and immoral.
Male Alpha Plus, Mark Bernard G. Inspected and approved.
Wish I could go there, Linda. Oh, I wish I could too. Everything's so perfect there.
How many goodly creatures there are here.
Yes, tomorrow night, I'm sure I can fit you in.
It's so seldom anyone visits the Savage Reservation. We rarely have the opportunity to show off our treasures.
Going off on vacation with Lanina, huh? Don't worry, you'll enjoy engaging. I always do.
There was an ample supply of Soma, enough for everyone.
Lately, I've had this strange, troubling feeling that there must be something more I can write about, something different.
This Soma is bad. It's poison. It hurts you.
Please don't do that,
take
Mr.
any.
Savage.
You know how distracting everything can be. Too many awards, too many girls, too much of everything.
You can never be free until you're free of Soma. Soma makes you into slaves. It robs you of everything magical and special with you. Don't you want to feel free? Don't you want to feel the blood coursing in your veins? Feel how you can be alive! How beauteous mankind is. How brave new world.
Here's where the world begins to mock us. The world knows. I can't believe that this commercial was made. The freaks saw this on TV and had me watch it. This is where it gets really interesting. Now this is new. This is not something I shared last time. But this is a Hennessy. I guess this is Scotch, or is it cognac or what? I don't know. It's some kind of fancy liquor. Yeah. That's all right. It's fancy liquor. I never got to the real fancy stuff. Right? All right. But this is their commercial. Are we ready to play that commercial? Let's play the commercial, and then we'll talk about it. I want y'all to watch this closely. This is a true event that happened in 1931. The physicist, the Belgian-Swiss physicist, Auguste Piccard. This is a true historic event, but they didn't present it in this commercial completely accurate. But we'll deal with that in a second. But it's amazingly, once you realize what they're showing. Go ahead.
After he goes as far as any man can possibly go, how does his son continue?
physicist who was also a friend of Albert Einstein and worked with Albert Einstein from time to time. I mean, this is a very intelligent man, PhD in physics, an engineer. This man created, he built this craft, he put it in, and he went up, he was the first man, so he's world record setter. Dr. Auguste Piccard, Star Trek, Jean-Luc Picard, named after him. Okay? First man to reach the stratosphere, the first man who went that high. Now notice in the commercial, the first couple of horizons they show you completely flat. Alright? He did this on May 27th, 1931. He set a world record at 51,775 feet. Here's a picture. I took some stills of this. They showed us. What are they showing us here? They're showing us the basically flat horizon. Now I love how they change it, but it shows him going up, and it shows him breaking through the firmament into what? Water. They're mocking us. They know the truth, and they're mocking us. Now here's some pictures. Auguste Piccard, PhD in physics. This is a well-known historic figure. I mean, stamps of him. I mean, this is not some guy. I can't believe how I never heard of him. Here's him in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Says he was, he was born in 1884, died in 1962. Swiss-born Belgian physicist, notable for his exploration of both the upper stratosphere and the depths of the sea in ships of his own design. In 1930, he built a balloon to study cosmic rays. In 1932, he developed a new cabin designed for balloon flights. In the same year, he ascended to 17,008 meters, 55,800 feet, completed. Another one, he did it later on. He was born into a family of Swiss scholars. He worked with, like I said, he worked with Albert Einstein. Here's a picture of him with his assistant in the capsule that they went up in, and it had portholes, and this is a porthole. And then I found this. This is a Popular Science magazine from August 1931. He did this in May. So just a few months after his ascent to a world record height, there was an article in there, 10 miles high in an airtight balloon. Now, just so people could say that I didn't get this off the internet, I did a little research. So I went on eBay and searched for Popular Science magazine, 1931, August edition. I found one. I paid $15 for this. It was 25 cents in 1931. Just to verify this fact, and I'm going to read this article to you. This is the testimony of a physicist, scientist, engineer, the first man to reach the stratosphere that height. His testimony of the shape of the earth. Can I read this to you? It's on page 23. This blew my mind, getting this. Just to verify. Is that the same article? If I was in court, this would be Exhibit 1. Alright? Says a huge yellow balloon soared skyward a few weeks ago from Augsburg, Germany. Instead of a basket, it trailed an airtight black and silver aluminum ball. Within, Professor Auguste Piccard, physicist, and Charles Kepfer aimed to explore the air 50,000 feet up. 17 hours later, after being given up for dead, they returned safely from an estimated height of more than 52,000 feet, almost 10 miles, shattering every aircraft altitude record. Oxygen tanks kept them alive while they made observations. Records of their instruments are now being checked and interpreted. First to rise safely into the upper layer of the Earth's stratosphere, they found the air pressure at 10 miles altitude so low, 1/10 of that at sea level, that a man exposed to it would perish, much as a deep sea fish burst of its own internal pressure when it's brought to the Earth's surface. Piccard and his aide found cosmic rays, mysterious radiations from outer space. They thought, of course, far more powerful than the Earth's surface. and engaged their intensity. The explorers trapped samples of upper air, blue air, as Picard reported it to appear in cylinders. Analysis may prove it exceptionally rich in ozone, the intense blue gas supposedly responsible for the heavy side layer or radio roof. Now listen to this. The story of their adventure surpasses fiction. During the ascent, the aluminum ball began to leak. They plugged it desperately with Vaseline and cotton waste, stopping the leak. In the first half hour, the balloon shot up 9 miles through portholes. The observers saw the Earth through copper-colored, then bluish haze. Here's what he said. It seemed a flat disk with upturned edge. Now this is 1931, before NASA. Before they decided they were going to lie to us, before they conspired worldwide to lie. Some people say that there are no scientists that are flat earthers. Well, guess what? He told you what he saw. What is this magazine? Why did we never hear that in our schools? I never heard of this man. Took an Illuminati commercial to make me look, who is this man? Just another picture of him. And just so you know, this is what I just read right here, where it says, it seemed a flat disc with upturned edge.
With your feet in the air and your head on the ground, you try this trick and spin it.
The Living Dreams, Angel Nova, the new feminine fragrance, Mugler.
Because this is a really cool video, and I want to let you guys watch it, and I'll commentate a little bit because there's some interesting features to the edge that they're calling it, basically the edge of the Earth. And it's not like the one we've been told. It almost seems like these people have done some research into maybe the lost books and the biblical cosmology. Who knows? But there's definitely that inspiration. You see that a lot in old movies. When you start reading the lost books and you see other movies, you'll find that they really just borrow from that wisdom and make it their own and put twist on it. And of course, that history's forgotten by most of the world anyway. So how would they know that this is what they're doing? So watch this video. You guys will be kind of impressed like I was, I hope. Here it goes. It's PlayStation again. Starts out, little man on a ship looking at this barrier. He starts going toward it and he's kind of like, full speed ahead. What is this? It's kind of dark and cloudy, and then there's this blast of energy that shoots toward him, and these branches grow off of this post of his ship. And then a plane and all these futuristic and weird-looking ships, as well as some that look like they're from ancient times. All sorts of different generations, all the ones that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle probably when they started launching rockets. But here he goes. He's like, all right, let's go. Full throttle here, his little boat. I'm going to try to smack into the firmament, see what happens. They're all doing it. Seems to be the cool thing to do. And then, bam, they go through it. And it's like they pass through these portals that are shaped like the little logo that they have for PS4. And watch this. Stars about to fly past them. Boom, right there. So you see the stars in warp speed flying past them. Stars in the firmament. He set them in the firmament. The waters above. So this is really cool. Stars just passing by. And they're going into the waters above. Incredible video and very telling that these guys are all just smashing right into the firmament. We'd heard rumors of that when we were first looking into the Operation High Jump type of stuff, and they were planes allegedly crashing into this barrier. Not really sure the point of this. I don't know if this is for an actual game or if it's just for a little advertisement for PS4 in general. I think that's what it is.
So
What's going on? Reroute it back to...
We need more light. You'll never find him this way. What time is it?
it's way too early for that.
Cue the sun.
And I got this one up because, you know, we all remember this, right? The avocado commercial, how they are all the secret society, you know, about the moon and Bigfoot and all these various things, right? He stops the sound effects on 23, the whole thing. You know, we've been over it. There are some excellent breakdowns of it. The avocado aspect of it, representing the woman, the womb, the whole thing. Now, I'm going to show you their new commercial, and then we'll talk about it. This is brand new to me. You guys are only this will be the second watch for me, and all I can say is basically hold on to your britches because they're telling it all. They're telling it all right here. Just watch this. First, let's look at where it starts here. The beehive, the hexagonal beehive here. I mean, look at it. It's like, can it be more in your face? A dome beehive, folks. Now listen closely and watch, please.
Well, we did it. We sealed the bad out and the good in. Take a second and look around you. Go ahead. We have everything we've always wanted. We'll want for nothing.
Excuse me. I really love it here.
Thank you.
We have all these beautiful avocados from Mexico, but where are the chips?
I'm sorry?
The chips are outside.
Why are they out?
The chips are outside!
I want a Chris Elliott autograph.
Wait! Please, avocados taste great on lots of things. See? Avocado toast. We can still make this work.
Oh, Wi-Fi's down.
No.
Avocados from Mexico.
All right. Now, now that you got a mind full of that, my initial reaction to this is they are showing us basically their plan for after what's coming, and that it's coming soon. So they start off by telling everybody we've sealed out the bad and kept in the good.
Well, we did it. We sealed the bad out and the good in. Take a second.
We sealed the bad out and the good in. Mm-hmm.
And look around you. Go ahead. We have everything we've always wanted. We'll want for nothing.
Excuse me.
We'll want for nothing.
We have all these beautiful avocados from Mexico, but where are the chips?
I'm sorry?
The chips are outside.
Why are they...
So they've created this utopia, and now they've discovered that there are no chips for the avocados. Okay? Now, this can be a metaphor for so many things, people. But what I'm seeing it as, my first impression, as the grace. The grace period has been shut out. Okay? And there's reasons why I say that. If we continue watching here.
The chips are outside!
Watch them now. Look it. You see that? He rents his garment. He shaves his head.
I want a Chris Elliott.
The only thing missing is no one's throwing dust on their heads. Okay? They are lamenting. They are very remorseful and sorrowful, and now angry and going absolutely bananas. So this is what is coming. And when the world realizes they missed the boat, you think this is not going to happen? smearing help in avocado guts. I mean, think about this, folks. Really, think about it.
Please, avocado.
Oh yeah, you got. No, I'm not even gonna stop there. But now we have the rulers, the kings, all telling us to calm down. Calm down now.
Avocados taste great on lots of things. See? Avocado toast.
It's funny how she says avocado toast right at 46 seconds. That, man, I can't wait to do somebody to do a thorough breakdown of this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. All I know is this is showing us.
We can still make this work.
Yeah. We can still make it work.
Oh, Wi-Fi's down.
But then the Wi-Fi's down. You see where I'm coming from here? They are just mocking the sheep to no end.
Trouble in space this morning as the International Space Crew attempted a spacewalk outside the station. Here's a live look at the astronauts. Well, I don't believe that's... Yeah,
Where's their spacesuit?
Boosters Bezos, Firmament Buster, The New Shepherd, Blue Blood Origins, Enter the Stars, and welcome to the latest revelation in our nested reality. iPetGo 2, the animation you're seeing right now, was released in 2012. And in this scene, the heavens opened up upon the phallic booster. The question is, what is it boosting? I believe the answer lies in this scene, the blue blood. You can see the phallic imagery, center screen, as well as in the upper right in the clouds, in the lower right hand corner, in the mountains. And when I look at this scene, the word injection comes to mind, as the scene is bathed in blue and white. You see, Amazon has always been about the blue blood and the phallic imagery. Look at Michael Jordan and his blue eyes in this Alexa Amazon ad for the Super Bowl, and watch the Amazon symbol stretch across the bathtub from him to her beneath the water. So now that we know what the blue origin really means, we can also figure out what Apollo's arrow really means in the connection to all of this. What did Apollo's arrow really do? And is that the reason why the astronauts named the Apollo mission to the moon after Apollo?
Oh man, that's the best idea since they faked the moon landing.
Okay, cut.
Wow, Neil Armstrong. Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.
And is this why Bezos is following in the Apollo mission footsteps by naming his aircraft the New Shepherd after one of the first men in space? I don't know about you, but I don't want a new shepherd. I want Yahuwah, Jesus Christ, as my shepherd. And I want to take the narrow gate home, not the wide gate. So the question becomes, who will be the first billionaire to crack the firmament?
I'm Jim Bridenstine, the NASA administrator. Thank you to the International Astronautical Congress for providing us with this opportunity. I am here today to talk about the future, a future that is peaceful, free of conflict, and one where humanity explores and develops the moon and Mars in harmony. Achieving this future will require both vision and action, which is why it's my pleasure to sign, on behalf of the United States of America, the Artemis Accords.
When Allen Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to two places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which in our world we call it not a space agency. Which in our world we call it not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has
Artemis is known as the hunter goddess in Greek mythology. This goddess has the bow and arrow as one of her symbols, her favorite weapon. Because of that, the goddess is usually depicted in the arts with her inseparable bow. The goddess of the hunt is the daughter of Zeus with her lover Leto, and she is Apollo's twin sister. But she was born one day before her brother and actually helped her mother deliver Apollo. When they were still babies, they and their mother were chased by the ignominious snake Python, but that creature was killed by Apollo when he became an adult. One of the traits of the goddess is that she is a virgin deity. From an early age, the goddess made a vow of chastity after witnessing all the suffering her mother had endured to bring Apollo into the world, and she remains pure for all eternity. For having helped her mother in childbirth, women in ancient Greece prayed that the goddess would help them during labor. Although she was born in Delos, the sacred island of the twin gods, Artemis dwells in the forests and mountains of Arcadia. Artemis was regarded as the goddess of wildlife. She was truly passionate about the art of hunting and wandered through the woods in search of the most glorious prey. The goddess was followed by a procession of wild and oceanic nymphs, her companions. All her companions also had the duty to remain virgin and pure, not to smear the image and reputation of the virgin goddess. One time, while the goddess and her nymphs were bathing in a fountain, they were spotted by the hunter Actaeon. He was dazzled by the divine beauty of the goddess of the hunt. But the goddess did not allow herself to be raped by the profane gaze, fixated on her naked body, which no man had ever seen. The goddess turned the hunter into a deer, and then he was chased by his own hunting dogs, who caught and shattered him. Like a good hunter, the goddess also had her own hunting dogs, from which no prey could hide. But the animal that represented the goddess of the hunt was the deer. Artemis captured some and tied them to her carriage. Sitting on it, pulled by sacred bucks, the goddess flew through the air. Agamemnon, the great leader of the Achaeans during the Trojan War, sacrificed one of Artemis's sacred deer, and, if that wasn't enough, he claimed that not even the hunter could kill that animal with his accuracy. This enraged Artemis, who, as punishment, prevented the Greek army from leaving for Troy. To make great peace with the goddess, Agamemnon had to sacrifice his beloved daughter, and, only after such a sacrifice, the Greeks set sail for war. The goddess's most ruthless side was also shown when Niobe proudly stated that her children were more beautiful than the descendants of the goddess Leto. Apollo and Artemis punished Niobe, killing all her sons with accurate arrow strikes. According to some versions of the myth, Artemis was particularly fond of Orion, a talented and giant hunter. But Orion was killed by Artemis after a trick pulled by Apollo, who deceived the goddess, jealous of that relationship. In another version, Orion attempted to rape Artemis, and so she sent a huge scorpion to kill the giant. The goddess was also depicted as a lunar goddess. Like her brother Apollo, who took Helios' place as the sun god, Artemis occupied the position of the goddess of the moon, replacing Selene. According to other versions, Artemis, Selene, and Hecate were all lunar goddesses, since each goddess represents a moon phase. Artemis is one of the most adored Greek deities in ancient Greece. Several cities were consecrated in honor of the goddess, and throughout the Hellenic world, there are countless temples edified to worship the goddess. Nevertheless, the most famous is undoubtedly the glorious temple of Artemis in Ephesus. The great temple was so majestic that it was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. In the temple of Ephesus, located in Asia Minor, the goddess was worshipped differently. There, she was seen as a goddess of fertility, and her image with multiple breasts symbolized her ability to raise men. The goddess was revered in ancient Rome with her Latin name of Diana, whose main temple was on Mount Aventine. With the expansion of the Roman Empire, her cult spread throughout Europe. According to some versions of Arthurian legends, the famous Lady of the Lake descended from Diana, the goddess of the hunt in Rome. Artemis is an ambiguous goddess. Sometimes she is generous and benevolent. However, she can also be ruthless and rancorous. This duality makes her one of the most interesting goddesses of Greek mythology.
The principles described in the Artemis Accords are what will create a bright and prosperous future that we all want for ourselves and for generations to come. These principles are grounded in the Outer Space Treaty, the very foundation of international space law. The Outer Space Treaty is over 50 years old, but it doesn't look a day over 35. The Accords both reinforce and implement the obligations of the Outer Space Treaty. For the first time, we are establishing consequences for Outer Space Treaty compliance. Specifically, if a nation does not comply with the Outer Space Treaty, it cannot be a part of the Artemis program. The principles of the Accords are simple, intuitive, and universal. Transparency, rendering emergency assistance to astronauts in distress, respecting heritage sites, the public release of scientific data for all to enjoy. These are the values we want to take with us to the stars. Moreover, the Artemis Accords affirm the simple contention that we can, in fact, extract and utilize space resources. Countries and companies should be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor, and all such activities can and will be done in full compliance with the Outer Space Treaty. We also need to abide by the principle of due regard and utilize safety zones wherein nations will be responsible for public notification of where they are operating and to coordinate with any affected party to avoid harmful interference as required by the Outer Space Treaty. There is a lot more in the Artemis Accords, but fundamentally the Accords are about avoiding conflict, transparency, public registration, deconflicting activities. These are the principles that will preserve peace. So many conflicts in history have been caused by misperception and confusion. The Artemis Accords are crafted to prevent conflict before it happens. The nations which are participating in Artemis and are here today are committing to the principles of the Accords. However, the Artemis Accords were written to be inclusive, and any responsible spacefaring nation should be able to abide by these principles, and I really hope all countries will. I also want to emphasize that the Artemis Accords are the beginning, not an ending. The experiences we gain through the Artemis program and these accords will help to inform future multilateral discussions at the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space and other international forums. The time has come to operationalize the Outer Space Treaty, and that is exactly what the Artemis Accords do. I am so proud to be here signing the Artemis Accords with this founding group of nations. The combined NASA and Department of State team has worked tirelessly with our partner space agencies and foreign ministries to craft the Artemis Accords.
What you are...
Alice Through the Looking Glass, as per usual, is full of the typical Luciferian propaganda. So let's firstly take a look at the subliminal meaning behind the prospect of Alice in Wonderland.
We'll come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time. darkest hour. Before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
Please, we really need you. I'm just here about the portal.
Wait a minute!
Only the chosen one can align the fates and save the 12 lands from the forces of darkness.
When the clock strikes heavy, and there's no time for tea, in our darkest hour.
Stop to war, so they say. Closing the door, they say. They say she's the chosen one.
Peculiar place to have a party.
Once you realise that these stories, like Alice in Wonderland, are actually allegories of Luciferian principles, made more digestible to the public by the use of cute fairy tales, do we start to understand more of the language that they're trying to convey. And this is exactly why the Large Hadron Collider at CERN has got an instrument called Alice, because it represents the light going through the tunnel. And it's no different with these movies. And what we're seeing today is a huge increase in this Luciferian propaganda. Alice through the looking glass. Well, through the looking glass means to be on the other side of the mirror, which means in a different realm or a different dimension. So Alice is playing that false Christ figure here, the false light. Let's have a look at the trailer first together, then expose what is being subliminally pushed.
You've been gone too long, Alice. There are matters which might benefit from your attention. Friends cannot be neglected. Hurry.
When the day becomes the night, and the sky becomes the sea, when the clock strikes heavy, and there's no time for tea, and in our darkest hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
Time is a he. He is not someone you want as your enemy. Please, sir, the Hatter is in danger.
Young lady, your time is up. This cannot be good.
Hello, Alice.
I present you with a gift.
Blue, the new number 5, Chanel.
According to BlueLetterBible.com, the words I and am appear 808 times in the King James Version Bible. The exact phrase I am appears 698 times. 2 of those 698 times the phrase I am was used when the Most High God declared his eternal name to be I am. It is understood to express God's eternal nature. He, as the great I am, has no beginning or end. Nowadays, pantheists and Gnostics have adopted the phrase to express their belief in their own imagined godhood. But before it became a popular slogan, it was used long ago by a very brazen and high-minded person. As Solomon wisely stated, there is nothing new under the sun. Out of the remaining 696 times the phrase was used, it was used twice more by something or someone called the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, when she declared, like none other, I am, and none else beside me. This declaration was a direct assault on God's status as the Most High. More blasphemous words have seldom been spoken. But the question that begs to be answered is, who is the Virgin Daughter of Babylon? Most subscribers to this channel know by now. For first-time viewers, I'll try to explain along the way. In this perfume ad by Chanel, one of the first symbols we see is the single eye. Most people refer to it as the all-seeing eye, the Eye of Ra, or the Eye of Horus. A little known fact that I have covered in the past is that the Eye of Horus is actually a goddess called Wadjet. She is also identified with Ma'at, who is the personification of justice. Originally, the all-seeing eye belonged to the goddess. Even if one doesn't believe it, it's still a fact. But most importantly, the Bible even identifies the eye as a woman called wickedness in Zechariah chapter 5 verses 5 through 11. The Bible, in my opinion, trumps all else. Another interesting thing about this ad is its star. The actress is known as Lily Rose Depp. Yes, she is the daughter of Johnny Depp, but it's her name that I want to draw attention to here. According to the Women's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects, the lily was sacred to the goddess Astarte, who was also called Lilith. Astarte was a variation of Ishtar, who was represented by the star Venus, also called Lucifer. Speaking of Venus, the rose was sacred to the goddess Venus, so in Lily Rose's name we have 2 clear references to the goddess Lucifer. Next, we see the references to night and day, and also black and white symbolism. And we see Lily Rose split into 2 persons, or images. I believe this is meant to convey the concept of duality, or harmony between equal opposites. Of course, this could be a message to the viewer that Lily Rose has been subjected to mind control, and that she has been split into multiple persons. But I pray that isn't the case here. Let's remember also that the moon has 2 sides. It has a light and a dark side. And also, when the moon is not full, it can be both light and dark at the same time. But duality is an important concept to the Gnostics and those who belong to other such mystery religions. The goddess Barbelo in the Thunder Perfect Mind says of herself, I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. There is more, but this should suffice to convey the dualism that is present with the goddess and in mystery religions. Barbelo here, in my opinion, is easily matched with the goddess Sophia because she represents the wisdom principle, just as Sophia does. And while we're speaking about wisdom, Isis also represents the wisdom principle. And she herself makes a bold claim, a bold I am claim, I should say. The inscription on her temple in Sais, or that is spelled S-I-A-S, reads, I, Isis, am all that has been, that is, or shall be. No mortal man has ever me unveiled. Moving on from there, I want to point out that the light bulbs being held by Lily Rose in this ad, they are obviously to represent illumination. Lily is the light bearer here, carrying the torch like Ishtar, the goddess of light, Columbia, which is another name for Venus, the star of the morning. Of course, they didn't forget Babylon, the Scarlet Woman. She appears everywhere, smiling knowingly at us, because she's Venus, Lucifer, the mother of the gods, or the mother of abominations. And even though we're looking at her everywhere, we don't recognize her, or who she really is. Therefore, we know her, and we don't, adding to the dualism. Two things that the imagery of the goddess are absolutely tied to are feminism and revolution. As Lilith, she refused to take a position subordinate to a man. As Libertas, she refuses to submit to oppression and tyranny. I find that ironic given that Islam, which means submission, is a religion so devoted to the secret goddess that her meteorite must be worshipped by every Muslim man in person at least once in their lives. And here we also see the flag being waved, bearing the most blatant and indisputable symbol of the goddess, the Vesica Piscis, or the Vesica Pisces. If you don't believe that's her symbol, just look it up. You're on the internet. It's not hard to prove to yourself. Or if you prefer, I have a video on the Vesica Pisces on my channel, Daylight Riders. As I mentioned just a moment ago, the goddess is the chosen symbol for revolution. Another word that can be used to describe revolution is rebellion. The lightning bolts are established symbols for the fall of Satan, or the Satans, because there's not just one adversary out there. But moving on from that, notice that the lightning bolts are all centering on Lily Rose. To me, this means that she is the lightning rod here. She brings the lightning down. She causes the fall. But this can also represent her withstanding all that the God of heaven can throw at her. She stands proudly at the peak of the mountain, representing a kingdom. And yes, a mountain is also a symbol of the goddess. I noticed that they didn't leave much out. And lest I forget, the name Mary or Miriam means both bitter water and rebellion. Go figure. So there you have it. Babylon, Lucifer, the Illuminati's goddess, makes her declaration of I am once again.
Even when we start off this trailer, we've got the whole Disney logo, and the Disney logo itself is the river here, which represents the serpent, and this house, palace, at the end of it, this golden palace, so on the head of the serpent there. And it's all about time, because it's ticking away in this logo, Disney 666 in the logo, and so we're already introduced to it being about time. We have the chiming of the bell tolls, and we see this girl, which is playing that character I've been speaking of,
Gone too long, Alice.
the false light, following this butterfly. The butterfly represents from the murky to the beautiful, like the rebirth, the rise of the phoenix. And it goes into essentially what is this house. And you're going to see that she performs some kind of fake, false, self-sacrificial thing, which is what the Luciferians believe that Lucifer is.
From your attention.
So it's like following the White Rabbit in a way, and it goes through this mirror, which is a portal or a gate. You can see that there's an allusion to water, like the water gate. Friends cannot be neglected. So she's in blue up there, and this Hatter is in red. So it's the two pillars, and it's Lucifer sacrificing itself. And this is like hell, you see here, and she's up in what you would refer to as heaven. So she does it, she goes through the gate, she follows that butterfly, blue butterfly, and takes the plunge. This is exactly what they believe. The Luciferians believe that Lucifer is, you know, self-sacrificial.
Hurry.
It's their version of the Christ. It's the false Christ. So falling down from heaven would, much in the same way as we've seen before, we saw in the Panic at the Disco video where he falls down from heaven. They see that, the Luciferians see that as a self-sacrificial thing. It's all twisted. All about time. So listen to what the narrator says now.
Becomes the night.
So when the day becomes the night, it's everything turning upside down. Black becomes white.
And the sky becomes the sea.
And the sky becomes the sea. So turning everything upside down, swapping darkness for light. We've seen it time and time again, where the weather goes mad and we see everything being turned upside down. And that's what he's saying here, when the day becomes night, when the sky becomes the sea, turning everything upside down. Look at Lucifer there, approaching what is a representation of the Tower of Babel, I believe. It's all biblical, but this is their twisted version of it. So the Tower of Babel, the Stargate, you'll see it's all to do with time and time change affecting time.
And the sky becomes the sea. Then the clock.
So there we've got our representation of the clock. This clock has actually got the same design as Big Ben, some sort of flower, geometrical flower in the centre. And I'm not saying that's necessarily anything to that, but we've seen the time, the smashing of time, their rituals pertaining to it often includes this Big Ben, probably because of the GMT, zero, cracking time. Led Zeppelin did it on their album cover.
Then the clock strikes heavy, and there's no time for tea.
That Last Supper reference, and here she goes through the heart of time. Again, all tying into the heart of the earth, and that cracking through the heart of time.
And in our darkest hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
And turn back the hands of time, which we see them representing so many times. If you've been watching this channel before, the reversing of time, possibly to a pre-flood, I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but these are all rituals to do with trying to reverse the prison that they are stuck in. You've got to take some of these things with a pinch of salt because they're not all explicitly biblical, but certainly their belief is that these entities are trapped in Saturn, and it's all to do with breaking time and cracking them out. Of course, with CERN as well, and all of that.
Of time.
Time is not someone you want as your enemy.
So time is a he, again, demonizing the masculine side. And
someone you want as your...
And this is likely a reference to Saturn there, because it goes the Tower of Babel, Stargate, time change, and then what do we get? We get the single eye symbolism. So there's probably a reference to that.
He is not someone you want as your enemy.
Young lady.
Looks like 1,000 points of light. all Luciferian.
This cannot be good.
The heart of the earth there, you see that? It all ties into the heart of time, the heart of the earth, and cracking them out through a portal. And that's it. This is the same thing. I mean, I haven't seen the film yet. This trailer's only just come out. But you see there how this is all tying into the same thing. The changing of time, the Luciferian belief system, Lucifer cracking out the false light, cracking them out of the heart of the earth, and all of that.
I present you with a gift.
This is rather sick, actually, because I'm sure some of you can see what that represents right there, the king being beheaded. So this is very blasphemous, and it's also probably a reference to the king's children, for example, the propaganda surrounding Christians. And also in the book of Revelation, it tells us that Christians in the end times will be persecuted in like manner.
Mission Control, I've got some news for you. It's going to shock you, so you better sit down. Listen very carefully. The Earth is flat, gentlemen. That's right, it's flat as a table.
Therefore, the Artemis Accords belong to our partners as much as they do belong to us. And we thank our partners for their commitment to establishing peaceful norms of behavior in space and their excellent feedback on the text of the Artemis Accords. The Artemis program itself will be the broadest and most diverse international space exploration coalition in history. And these accords are the vehicle to achieve this unprecedented global cooperation. The Artemis journey is to the moon and onto Mars. But these accords, with these accords, the destination is more than the moon and Mars. It's about peace and prosperity.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
This next generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
Hello, I'm Megan Clark, and I'm joined by Anthony Murphy, and we're the Deputy Head of the Australian Space Agency. I'm really delighted to be here as part of the International Astronautical Congress and NASA's signing of the Artemis Accords. We're so proud that our agency, just 2 years old, can stand shoulder to shoulder with NASA and our counterparts from across the globe on the stage today to confirm our commitment to a safe, peaceful, and prosperous future. It's through the principles of the Artemis Accords that we share a collective interest in the exploration of outer space for peaceful purposes and to contribute to society and economic growth. Australia and NASA have a long relationship that's continued for over 60 years, from the NASA radio tracking facility in Woomera, South Australia, to really helping NASA be a part of that famous broadcast, Humankind's First Steps on the Moon, and we were proud to be a very small part of that, to the largest TV audience of the time. We recognise the past and ongoing collaborations, CSIRO, Geoscience Australia, our universities and industry.
Just over a year ago, at NASA's headquarters in Washington, D.C., our Prime Minister Scott Morrison launched a new partnership between the Australian Space Agency and NASA on future space cooperation, including the opportunity for Australia to join the United States Moon to Mars exploration approach, including NASA's Artemis lunar program. The Australian government is investing $150 million for Australian businesses and researchers to join NASA's endeavour, an investment here in Australia to deliver key capabilities for missions, for example, through participation in international supply chains that support NASA's missions. Australia is well positioned to support these activities as many of our technologies, like automation, are already in use in remote and harsh terrains, meaning there is less of a leap to show how these technologies can work in space. Given Australians' capabilities in space communication, robotics and automation, Earth observations, space medicine, as well as capabilities in the resources sector, Australia is ready to contribute its best ideas and know-how to support the future of space exploration. And as we invest in these technologies, we know we'll be improving our life here on Earth, as many of these technologies will also transform how we go about our everyday lives.
As we undertake these activities, the agency will be guided, as always, by our values, and this includes being a responsible global citizen. Australia is committed to ensuring the safety and sustainability of space activities and meeting our international obligations. This signing today helps Australia advance space as we partner with NASA, our international counterparts, on the Artemis mission, and we go forward to the moon and onto Mars.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Over the years, NASA has given us spectacular photos and renderings that reveal a colorful and mysterious universe.
Artists behind some of the most iconic space art in the galaxy.
In a small, bright office, working side by side.
Let's see.
Robert Hurt and Tim Pyle bring the universe to life. Astrophysicist turned artist. Tim, once a Hollywood animator, is now a planet illustrator. Together, they produce some of NASA's most popular images, from renderings of how planets light years away could look, to actual photos of stars and galaxies captured by NASA's powerful telescope. It's a delicate blend of imagination and data. The artists meet with NASA scientists over many drafts to ensure a planet or galaxy's look lines up with the research to make final results enough to keep us all dreaming of the final frontier for years to come. Chris Martinez.
Not every nation supports these ideals, so those that do must stick together. There is strength in numbers and strength in unity and solidarity. I extend an invitation to other nations to pledge your support for the principles of the Artemis Accords and your interest in joining us in our quest to extend a permanent human presence on the moon, Mars, and beyond. May God bless this coalition of trusted partners, and may God bless outer space.
Well, yeah, people come out and they've run out of anecdotes, and they just start making stuff up.
Yeah.
Like that Neil Armstrong guy. Have you seen him on the talk shows?
Neil Armstrong, you mean the first man to walk on the moon?
Talk about a fish story. Man, and they're buying it.
Okay.
Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
This video is for the Christians who keep saying flat earth is some kind of a distraction to keep us from focusing on Jesus. This couldn't be further from the truth. Truly developing a relationship with Jesus and getting saved is the most important thing to me, and should be with anyone proclaiming Christ as their Savior. But I have to ask, according to God, since when has the truth ever been a distraction, or even unimportant for that matter? Is the flat earth divisive? You bet it is. But the truth always is. Jesus specifically told his disciples he wasn't here to bring peace, but division. And if I'm not mistaken, he is also the truth, and the truth seems to do that. People have been saved or have developed a closer relationship and walk with God by the thousands due to discovering the truth about where we live. How do you think Jesus feels when some of you go on your channels or post in your comments that the flat earth is nonsense or stupid? Are all of those who have been saved due to realizing the Bible actually holds the truth no longer important? Do you realize when you post anti-flat earth videos and say you are a Christian that you actually run the risk of hurting someone else's walk with the Lord? We are all called to be fishers of men, and we should be on the same team, not trying to discredit one another's bait. The wide majority of the world is asleep to how Satan deceives the world, and he's been working on this deception in particular for thousands of years since the very beginning. Think about this for a minute. From the time we can talk, we're told we live on a globe in the vastness of space. Generation after generation, parents have unknowingly kept the lie going because they didn't know any different. We go through life and see nothing but globe all day, every day. Every TV show, every movie, on the news and in the newspaper, logos, emblems, textbooks, encyclopedias, teachers teach it, preachers preach it. We can't even look at the weather anymore without seeing the maps stuck to a giant water ball. They make sure we believe that we have satellite TVs, use the latest GPS systems, and hear about every new planet they discovered on the news. That is assuming we survived the daily asteroid that flew by. All the while, we sit and relax watching the newest sci-fi movie, dreaming about visiting Mars and playing the latest alien video game over the wireless internet. The globe is pushed more than anything ever has been, and it's to the point now where if anyone even hears that you think differently, you get ridiculed and thought of as crazy, and you've been programmed to think like that, whether you realize it or not. People refuse to look into it because we have it in our mind that there's just no way that we could have been lied to, and anyone that doesn't just go along with the crowd must be stupid and should be treated as such. So why is it that when a self-proclaimed Christian is asked if they believe in the Big Bang, they'll say, "No way"? And then when you ask them how they feel about evolution, they say, "Oh, that's a lie from the pit of hell." Then when you ask them about living on a flat earth, you get, "Oh, heavens no, they wouldn't lie about that, they're scientists." Do you see the problem here? The Bible is the inspired Word of God, and nothing should be added or taken away from it. Man should never twist God's Word to fit his own worldview. And as a true Christian, it's crucial that you believe that. Either the Bible is the inspired Word of God and 100% true, or it isn't. So knowing that, I've held my Bible up as a litmus test for this world many times before when it comes to things like evolution or the Big Bang or aliens, things like that. So I felt I had to hold the Bible up to the same standard when it came to our cosmology. In February of 2015, I began praying every day that the Lord would lead me into all truth, that He would give me knowledge and wisdom, the discernment to know what in this world was truth and what was deception. I had no idea what I was in for, and to be honest, the biblical cosmology is only scratching the surface. I highly suggest taking everything you hear from me or anyone else to the Lord. Throughout the Bible, every person God used to write any part of the inspired text we have today thought the earth was flat. Not one, including Jesus, thought we were living on a ball spinning at 1,038 miles per hour, flying around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. There are literally hundreds of verses that I'll post a link to below that allude to God creating a flat, stationary earth with a dome firmament in which He has placed the sun, moon, and stars. We are told point blank that Satan deceives the whole world, but most Christians are under the impression that they aren't included in that because they've been saved. This isn't the case. We've all been deceived, guys, in one way or another. And if we're honest, Satan has been deceiving us since the garden. So if we as Christians realize we're being lied to when it comes to things like the origins of man, with the Big Bang and evolution, why do so many of us still believe those very same scientists that say we came from monkeys when it comes to space and the earth? Satan is running this world for now, and the Bible clearly refers to him as the father of lies. Think about that for a minute. Does he just lie about everything else other than the creation of the vast infinite universe? Or is there a good possibility that he's lying about that too, and like the generations before us, we bought it? Repeatedly throughout the Bible, we see that something is established when we have 2 or 3 witnesses to back it up. So how many Old Testament prophets and disciples did the Lord use to write the Bible? I definitely think we have plenty of witnesses. So let's start at the beginning. God created the sun, moon, and stars on the 4th day. However, grass, fruit, trees, and all other vegetation were created on day 3. That doesn't fit the globe model that we are taught. We could literally have made a side salad on the Earth on day 3, but the entire infinite universe, including all of the galaxies full of stars and planets, was created on day 4. It should make you wonder, was the Earth spinning on the first 3 days? If we were not spinning, the force countering the spin, gravity, would crush us. So when did God make gravity? What were we orbiting before He made the sun? In fact, when did the Bible mention God spinning the Earth faster than the speed of sound and launching it around the sun in the first place? I think you'll find there are a lot of things we're adding to His creation in order to fit what we've been told. And unfortunately, pride is standing in the way of most. The Bible goes on to mention God creating 2 great lights, the greater to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, which I believe means exactly what it says, 2 great lights, meaning the moon is giving its own light. Man tells us the moon is a giant rock with magical reflecting properties that reflects the first great light. We are told the sun, moon, and stars are for signs and seasons and to give light on the earth. That means the stars were created to light the earth, like it says. It also means they weren't considered great lights. Man tells us stars are enormous, a lot of which are much larger than our own sun and millions of times larger than the earth, all light years away with solar systems of their own. Does it make sense that God created a vast universe, including all stars and planets and galaxies on day 4, but spent the rest of creation week focusing on the earth, making plants and animals and people? The truth is, stars are much smaller and much closer than modern-day monkey man science would have us believe. And they've been placed above our head as God's giant celestial clock, so when we look up, we know what time it is. There are several places in the Bible, actually, that tell us one day the stars will fall to the earth. In fact, Jesus himself tells us this. That should be a big red flag for globe cosmology if you're a Bible believer, because it really paints us into a corner, and we only have so many options we can believe. Either A, Jesus did not know what the stars were, which I don't believe because he's God and most definitely knows what the stars are. Or B, Jesus knew what the stars were. He even said the Hebrew word that meant stars, but really he meant asteroids, comets, and meteors. I don't believe that either, because Jesus himself is the truth and wouldn't lie to his disciples or deceive them in any way by saying one thing but really meaning something else. Or there's C. Jesus knew exactly what the stars were, meant that near the end of days, the stars would literally begin to fall out of their place in the firmament to the earth below. Here again, if we listen to man, it would be like trillions of flaming beach balls hitting a single grain of sand. There's a reason we're told the wisdom of this world is foolishness to God, you know. I'm just saying. In Joshua chapter 10, verses 12 through 14, and in Isaiah 38, verses 7 and 8, we see something really interesting. The Lord stops the sun from going down a full day in Joshua and makes the sundial go backwards 10 degrees in Isaiah. Both of these instances would mean the globe Earth stopped its rotation completely, and in Isaiah's case, rotated backwards in order for the sun to do that in the sky. The truth is, Earth is flat and stationary. The much smaller, closer sun circling overhead stopped, and in Isaiah's case, went backwards. Instances in the Bible that we have not clearly understood because we've been indoctrinated with the wrong model. How about the Tower of Babel? If the world was a spinning globe, why didn't God just let them build it? Think about it. They couldn't have survived outer space. Why was Nimrod even trying to build it for that matter? Wouldn't the enemy at least know it was a globe? Wouldn't the tower eventually have been destroyed when reaching the point where the 1,000-mile-per-hour atmosphere that's spinning along with the Earth meets that non-rotating vacuum of space? And if I'm not mistaken, aren't we told the temperatures up there are pretty inhospitable? It just seems to me like if things are the way we're told in science class, the problem would have solved itself. But instead, God had to intervene. I am interested in hearing the globe theories on the Tower of Babel, so feel free to leave them in the comments. The Earth must have been swinging that thing around like a bat. The truth is, they were trying to reach the firmament, and God knew what they were trying to do, and he stopped them. I feel like I could go on because once you realize the truth, you'll read the entire Bible with new eyes. My entire YouTube channel is dedicated to two things. One is to show my brothers and sisters the truth about our Father's creation, and the other is for the atheists that believe there is no creator to finally realize there has to be one and eventually come to know Jesus. And praise God, many atheists have been saved due to finding out the truth. And even though the flat earth is unconventional, God can use anything to bring lost sheep into the fold, and he will. If you really look into it, you will see what Satan has done and what our Father is revealing to us here in the end times. One last thing to think about. If we were on a flat, stationary earth, with a dome firmament in which God has placed the sun, moon, and stars, wouldn't it be Satan's goal to create a deception that literally hides the Creator from us? Think about it. Evolution, the Big Bang, atheism, an infinite, ever-expanding universe where man is unimportant and everything happens by chance. The make-believe asteroids and solar waves that will disguise the judgments of God so man doesn't repent. Not to mention the alien card, which will be used to usher in the Antichrist, explain away missing people, and have all the world's armies gathered together at the very end to defend the earth from Jesus. All of those are due to this one lie. It becomes very apparent once you see the truth that the globe space lie is the base deception on which all of Satan's other deceptions stem. There is plenty of evidence out there other than the Bible to show you the truth. For example, hundreds of curvature tests have been done by many of us, and not one shows we live on a globe. The curvature simply isn't there. So regardless of how you feel or what stance on our cosmology you take, there is one thing that is inevitable. There will come a day when we will stand before the Lord and answer for every word that has come out of our mouth. If I'm wrong, I'm fully prepared to stand before God and be wrong for believing in His Word and telling others what I felt was the truth, regardless of how I was looked at or treated. Are you prepared to stand before the Lord if you're wrong for sticking up for the wisdom of this world, where we actually need to twist His scriptures to fit what atheist scientists tell us happened millions of years ago? Or better yet, are you ready to explain why you discourage those who are new to the faith because you trusted man over your Bible? It takes a humble heart to find the truth. Pride truly is the greatest sin of all, and it will keep many from even looking.
The wheels within wheels with eyes all around. Would you like to see the eyes and the wheels all around and the eyes all over the wheels? I'll show you those eyes. Here are the wheels with the eyes. The stars, the hosts of heaven, God's creation, the ones, each star has its name, as it says in the scripture. God says, I have named them all. These are the eyes. These are the eyes on the wheels. Our stars. Isaiah 40:26. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, not one faileth. This is what people have been missing this whole time, and it's been right in front of our faces in the scripture. This is what God was showing Ezekiel. The wheels within the wheels are the belts that surround Earth. NASA calls them the Van Allen belts. These are the invisible belts of magnetic energy within the torus. They keep everything in motion, everything moving like a fine-tuned clock. All the eyes that Ezekiel saw was the stars. All the stars are created by God. They are the luminaries. That is what makes up all the eyes that is being spoken of. What Ezekiel saw was the absolute pure beauty of our home that God created for us. This is what Satan wants you blinded to. This is the absolute magnificence that Satan doesn't want you to see. This is why they mockingly show you that image in Game of Thrones and other movies, the wheels within the wheels over the flat plain earth. They're showing you the truth right in front of your face, and they laugh because you don't understand and you don't see. This is the beauty. This is the sheer absolute beauty of the world that God created, and He called it good. Now that you have eyes to see and ears to hear, now let me tell you this. magnetic energy. It's all about the magnetic fields. This is how they're frictionless and how they move in perfect unison. And just as it states in the book of Enoch, through the movement of these wheels, we see how the sun and moon will go through their vaults and rise and return in different areas. This is what the globe has blinded people to. The absolute truth of what God said all along. It has been here the whole time in the scriptures. Instead, we choose to listen to NASA. Instead, we choose to listen to the idiot box. Instead, we choose to listen to scientists, and we heap amongst ourselves teachers that teach us absolute lies to keep us in the dark. When God's been saying the whole time, just look up. Look up at what surrounds you. I made this for you. That's all God wanted to say. Just take a look. I'm here. I am right above you. Outside and gaze up into that starry wonder of God's creation, just know that our Father in heaven is sitting up there right now, staring down at all of us, watching our every move. He knows everything that's going on down here. He has not missed anything. And just know and be comforted by the fact that our Father is right there, and He's been there this whole time. This is something that the world and NASA and the scientists can never take from us, ever. Even the lying powers and signs of Satan that are coming, the lies of the fallen angels